Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to talk about the stock of British American Tobacco. The ticker symbol is BTI. British American Tobacco is a British conglomerate company that manufactures and sells cigarettes, tobacco, and other nicotine products throughout the world. They have operations in 180 countries, and their cigarette brands include Dunhill, Kent, and Lucky Strike. They also have some vaping products like Vype and Vuse. Since they are a conglomerate company, they own a bunch of smaller companies like Reynolds Americans, which owns brands like Newport and Camel. It also owns 30% of ITC, which is the largest tobacco company in India. Over the past few years, the number of tobacco companies in the world has been steadily shrinking because they have been acquiring each other. This is good for investors because it reduces competition amongst companies. Let's dig into their business by looking at their group's operating review for the year 2020. As you can see, they sell a few different types of products. Their largest category is plain old combustible cigarettes. That accounts for about 24 billion pounds of sales last year. And compare this with the total sales of 27 billion pounds last year. So that means combustible products or plain old cigarettes account for almost 88% of their total revenues last year. Then they have these new categories, which is vaping products, THP, modern oral, and traditional oral tobacco products. All of these categories combined account for only 2.6 billion pounds of revenue last year. So that is about 12% of their total 27 billion pounds of revenue. If you look at the growth rates of these products, combustibles have been shrinking over time. That is because consumers are more likely to buy vaping or more healthier alternatives than to smoke cigarettes these days. One interesting thing that I noticed from this report was that even though the number of combustible cigarettes has been decreasing over time, look at the change year over year. They decreased by about 5% from 2019 to 2020. The revenue from cigarettes actually increased by 3% from 2019 to 2020. That is probably because they increased the price of the cigarettes to compensate for the volume decrease. And in terms of the company's overall results, revenues actually increased from 2019 to 2020 by 3.3%, and profits increased by about 5%. Their 2020 annual report shows the targets that they aim for when running their company. They want to increase their revenue by about 3 to 5% every year, compounded, and they want to increase their revenue from new categories to about 5 billion pounds by 2025. Let's take a look at a few other metrics from their business. They have operating margins between 38 and 45%, which are fantastic. These kinds of margins would make a tech company jealous. They have a dividend payout ratio of about 65%, which is pretty sustainable, I would think. And they have a cash conversion percentage of 98%, which is amazing. Their return on capital employed is about 10%, which is okay. It's not too good, but I feel this is decreased artificially because of the use of goodwill in the company. Their total net profit margin, according to Yahoo Finance, is about 25%, and their forward dividend yield is about 7.7 or 8%. Guys, this is a fantastic dividend yield. You will not find many stocks of this quality selling at a dividend yield of 8%. According to the analyst at Yahoo Finance, their growth rate over the next 5 years in terms of earnings growth is expected to be 4.4%. So if we add this to the dividend yield, which is 7.5%, we get a value of 12%, which is the expected return that an investor would see if they buy and hold their stock. So let me summarize by giving you the investment thesis behind BTI, or British American Tobacco. They have a great legacy business, which is their tobacco business. Even though it's in a slight decline, it requires very little capex to operate, and they can return most of their profits back to investors as dividends. They can also reinvest their profits into their fast-growing vaping business. In terms of valuation, it's not a very demanding valuation. They have a PE of about 10, and they are giving out most of their earnings back to investors as dividends. So they have a 7.5% dividend yield, which is amazing. I don't think there are too many stocks out there in the stock market that offer a 7.5% dividend yield. So I believe an investor should be able to get an 11 to 14% return by buying and holding BTI over the long term. Thank you for watching and good luck with your investments.